let's talk about components. What I've done is over here, I've created a new page called components. And here, we're going to store components. And a component is something that is going to be an object which we can make copies of. And if we make changes to the original object, then the copies will automatically get the change. Okay? So in the layers components, I start building a component. In order to build a component, I go to assets and I take things from the material design kit. So I get a input field from the material design kit, and I also want to have a button, for example. It's just a component where it's an input field and a button. Okay, so we'll get this button next to it, and it's aligned. The next thing that I can do is I can create a frame. Okay, and all of these objects are now sitting inside the frame. So if I go to the layers to make sure that my button and my text field are both inside the frame, and let's call this frame demo component. Okay. The thing that I want to do is that I want to give this component a background color, which is one of my material colors. So I go to fill and choose this styles and variables. So these are the saved variables. So these are the semantic things, you know, like is it primary color or is it primary container? Is it a secondary container? So let's make it, for example, a secondary container. Okay. And notice that we still have this purple color. This is not our material theme that we chose. These are the remnants from the material design kit, right? So we need to change these to our current theme, for which I select all this, go to resources, go to material theme builder, and there I click on light mode. So what we should see now is that the input element and the label and button element, they should both take the same color scheme as the blue color scheme that we've recently specified. And that's what happens. And now we can close the material theme builder. And this is our now demo component. Now, even though we call it a demo component, it's still not a component yet. In order for it to become a component, I select this frame and I click on this button which is called create component. Okay, so when I click on this button, it's now created a demo component. Okay, and it sits on this components page. So if I go to the page 1, there is nothing. On component page, we have something called a demo component. Now, this demo component needs to appear also under assets. So let's go to assets. And in assets, there is basically two libraries. There is the local components, which is what we've created. So if I look under local component, this is the demo component that I created. And under material design kit, obviously all of the other components that comes with the material design. So now I have these assets that I can use. So let me go to my page. This is my design page. And in this design page, now I want to bring this component. Okay. So on page 1, this is my design page. I bring this asset, demo component. I drag it into the page. Now, if I go to the layer view, you will see that this demo component now has this diamond shape, but it's empty inside. So that means it's an instance of the component. So this is an instance of the component. So let's try to do something. Let's go to the original component and let's give this original component, this background frame, some corner radius. Okay, so I select the component, or basically I've selected the frame. I can also select things inside, but I select the frame, which is at this level, and then I go and give it a corner radius of 20, for example. Okay, so the demo component now has a corner radius of 20. Now let's see if the instance of this component, which is on page 1, also took that change. Exactly. So we have a instance of that component that took the change. Now what I can do is I can make a copy of the component by clicking Shift Option, drag. Okay, so now I have, if I look at the layers, I have 2 copies of that component. What I can do is I can actually detach this instance from the original object. So what I can do is I can double click on it, and I have this detach instance command, and I can detach the instance. When I detach the instance, what I have now is my frame is just a regular frame. It's no longer a component, but the objects inside, the button, it's a component coming from the Material 3 UI kit. The text field is component coming from the UI kit, and it's basically an instant of the component coming from the UI kit. Okay, so the thing is, now the lower one is an instance, the upper one is the lower one is just a regular frame, but the upper one is an instance. So now if I go back to components and make a change to my demo component, so let's say now what I want to do is I want to change the color. I go to the fill. I want to change the color to tertiary container. Okay, so now the color has gone to tertiary container. Now if I go back to page 1, the instance has taken the change, but when we have detached this component, it is no longer taking the change from the original component, okay, because we've already detached it. So these are the fundamental things about components and instances that we need to understand.